Okay, we are rolling. We are rolling, brother. Champions of Champions boxing talk here. Well, these fights just creep up, don't they? I mean, Kell Brook and, I should say, Terence Bud Crawford v. Kell Brook in the United States. Not with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn not involved at all. And Kell Brook also not preparing for this fight with his regular trainer. Now, that could play a key, but maybe not the key you think, right? Sometimes a human being, right, who has been used to having a certain trainer, again, a boxer, right, they get used to doing what the trainer tells them, right? It's a regime. It's like a diet, right? We don't know, though, given that person some independence, how good their own diet could be, or how good their own boxing IQ is. For instance, I always got the impression that it was a team effort with Floyd Mayweather and his training, right? His dad, his uncle, whatnot. But make no mistake, some of them fights Floyd Mayweather could have trained himself, right? Make no mistake about it. That's why, really, he kept it in the family. He didn't need an outside influence. Floyd could have trained himself, right? Give Floyd Mayweather a rigid trainer. Who knows, he might not have been as good as he is, right? We don't know, really, how good Kell Brook is. Left to his own thoughts and devices. Who knows? It could all blow up in his face, right? It could be a disaster. But he also might cook something different up here. You don't know. Tyson Fury is another one. Apart from his last fight with Deontay Wilder, which you could clearly see the Kronk style in effect there, right? But with Ben Davidson, I got the impression that Ben was learning more from Tyson than Tyson was learning from Ben. Tyson Fury, switch hitter, known as the thinking man's boxer in the heavyweight division. He could probably train himself. Now, of course, he needs a motivator, right? Tyson Fury, you get the impression motivation at times is bigger for him than strategy, because you could see his mind is strategic anyway. Again, Floyd Mayweather had it both ways. He was dedicated, determined, and a rich boxing IQ. Even Manny Pacquiao. Freddie Roach said he never watches tapes. Manny doesn't watch tapes of the guys he fights. He figures it out in the ring. Now, of course, Freddie Roach may direct him here and there, but we've seen Manny Pacquiao smash Lucas Matisse up in Malaysia with his second-in-command trainer, Buboy Fernandez. Freddie Roach wasn't even there for that fight. High levels, and I'm not saying Kell Brook is their level, but you see what I'm saying. Sometimes we get surprises, right? Terence Crawford is, well, a complete boxer for me. But, and this is a big but, there are certain attributes that defeated Kell Brook that Terence Crawford doesn't have. He is not the physical juggernaut that Gennady Golovkin is. He doesn't have the power Gennady Golovkin has. He doesn't have the physical strength that Gennady Golovkin has. I don't believe he can break Kell Brook's skull in a punch the way Gennady Golovkin can. Conversely, he is not the physical specimen Errol Spence is. Errol Spence damaged the other side of Kell Brook's eye. But until the fight with Errol Spence and Kell Brook ended, and it's disrespectful to call people with broken eye sockets quitters. I'm just going to put that out there. But before that fight concluded, Kell Brook was holding his own for at least 6 or 7 rounds there. These two looked on a similar level. There was no clear guy in that fight where you thought this guy is head and shoulders above the other guy. It took Errol Spence time to break Kell Brook down, and Kell Brook was winning some rounds with sharp shots, right? He was physically strong early as well, right? Of course, Errol Spence got to him late on, But for me, Kell Brook he's not a 147-pound fighter. And he was coming off that terrible, damaging defeat to Golovkin. For 3 or 4 rounds, he was holding his own with Gennady Golovkin too, Kell Brook. Not as much as the commentators on Sky Sports would have you believe. They made it seem like Golovkin was getting, dropped and all over the place. That wasn't the case. Listen to that. Watch that fight with different commentators and you will see Golovkin is fairly comfortable. But nonetheless, Kell Brook held his own for 4 rounds plus. This is a guy that got the win over Sean Porter. A Sean Porter that gave Errol Spence real problems recently. Kell Brook has a W over that guy. Right? Are we overlooking Kell Brook? Food for thought on that one. Kell Brook has some... He's the bigger guy. He's a bigger guy than Terence Crawford. That is one advantage. Number 2, he may hit the hardest of any opponent Terence Crawford has faced. Number 3, Kell Brook can take a shot. Again, these stoppages that he suffered under Errol Spence and Gennady Golovkin, he wasn't knocked out looking up at the lights from the canvas. This was more, they were more of he was being broken down gradually than being knocked clean out. But it was the physical force of those guys that troubled Kell Brook. Terence Crawford doesn't really fight like this, right? Even the Carson Jones fights, Kell Brook tends to really have issues with pressure fighters. Carson Jones in that first fight gave Kell Brook all hell for leather, just like Golovkin and Errol Spence. But Terence Crawford may be better than all of those guys, but he doesn't fight like all of those guys. It's boring to say this, but it is true, darlings. Styles make fights. Right? And Terence Crawford can be very open to shots early on. Jeff Horn was landing right hands in the first round against Terence Crawford. Mean Machine, the guy who Crawford last fought, dropped Terence Crawford. Now that guy is not as good as Kell Brook to me. But he was also really digging in at Terence Crawford's body. Mean Machine dropped Terence Crawford. I don't care what anybody tells me. The body shots were affecting Terence Crawford. This guy, to me, is not on the level of even this version of Kell Brook. So we need to think. Does that mean that Kell Brook even does as well as Mean Machine? No, it doesn't. We'll have to see on the night. But I'm under no illusions here that this is going to be dominant. I've got a funny feeling for the first half of the fight, Terence Crawford is going to have to weather some leather in this fight. His boxing IQ is greater than Kell Brook. He's a switch hitter. Fast hands. Brave himself, but he's getting hit by a guy who I think punches maybe not as concussive as you would think, but hits very hard. He's very heavy-handed, Kell Brook. Right? And he's sharp. He's accurate. Right? And he does like to fight with space. And what do boxers give you? Space. It's all about space in this sport, positioning in the ring. That's what Kell Brook likes. Right? Is Terence Crawford, will he impose himself on Kell Brook the way the guys that have beaten Kell Brook have? I don't know. Crawford fights the way he fights. You have to remember he's in his 30s now. Is he going to change now? Right? As I said, Kell Brook is the bigger man. He does have advantages in this fight. He's a bigger man. I think he hits harder than Terence Crawford. Right? So, if Kell Brook can somehow impose his size and physique on Terence Crawford, this could be one of Terence Crawford's hardest fights. It's all about where Kell Brook is mentally for me. We can talk about skills all we want, but we know skills in boxing can be overcome. You can beat a guy that is more skillful than you. Right? Would anybody say, really, that Ricky Hatton was more skillful than Kostya Tszyu? No, but he found a way to beat him. He found a way to beat him. right? Would anybody say that Marcus Maidana is close in skill level to Floyd Mayweather? No, we wouldn't. But in that first Maidana-Mayweather fight, it was close. Maidana held his own. Would anybody say that Castillo is more skilled than Floyd Mayweather? No, we wouldn't. But in the first fight, many people thought Castillo won. It's how you apply your style. That's what it's all about. Of course, this would not be... If Kell Brook was to pull this off, it wouldn't be as big a shock as Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson, for instance. I know Pacquiao was robbed in Australia, but nobody thought that Jeff Horn would put on that display. And of course, Kell Brook is held in higher regard than Jeff Horn. And some people believe that Terence Crawford, when put to it, is not as good a fighter as Manny Pacquiao was a few years ago. Right? I'm going to say this. We don't know, really, if Terence Crawford would do better against Errol Spence than Kell Brook did. You know why? They haven't fought. Right? The big mistake Crawford could make in this fight, because the two guys have been linked together since the dawn of time. The fight's never happened. But if Terence Crawford believes that Kell Brook is just Amir Khan, again, because he's linked with Amir Khan so much, he's in for a rude awakening. He's a different style to Amir Khan. Again, he's more rugged. He's stronger. He hits harder. He takes a punch better. Khan is more of a front runner. Speed. Volume. That's Khan. Concentration early, but gets caught late as the fight wears on. Kell Brook is a different species. Now, does that mean that he's better than Khan? No, but he's different. I personally think Kell Brook beats Amir Khan, but that's just an opinion. Who knows? When they were both at the prime, maybe Brook can't catch him. But this is what I'm saying. They're different. You can't just hit... I don't believe you can hit Kell Brook in the first round and drop him. Like Crawford just walked over to Khan and landed. First round. Down he went. No, Kell Brook is more sturdy than that. So... where is my prediction on this? I will say this is the problem for Kell Brook. He's very stiff, his upper body. And Terence Crawford, as we know, has fast hands, and he's a sharp shooter. Right? Kell Brook, for me, has to... Again, I've said he has to impose himself, his size, his strength, all of his advantages, his power. He has to go to the body. Mean Machine, again, had some success. If Terence Crawford is slowed down, if his feet are slowed down and it ends up a duel, a shootout, that's where Kell Brook has his best chance for me. Right? But that upper body movement of Kell Brook is susceptible. He doesn't move his head. He doesn't move his shoulders. He doesn't move his chest much. He's very sort of stiff. Again, good boxing, accurate puncher, strong, powerful. More of a volume, break you down sort of fighter than a concussive puncher, but nonetheless. But it's always been this lack of head movement, rigidness up top. His lack of fluidity, if you like, in that area, that has caused Kell Brook a lot of damage in his career. If he'd have been able to slip a punch, because he was the faster guy via Golovkin, he might have done and lasted a little longer. He may not have got these eye injuries. If he was able to slip a punch, and I don't mean block a punch, but slip, right, against Errol Spence, who knows how that would have turned out. Carson Jones gave him a lot of damage because of this issue as well. As the fight wears on and Terence Crawford gets sharper, because if Terence Crawford is in the zone halfway through the fight, that's when he begins to really switch it up. And again, he can fight from either stance, southpaw, orthodox, you name it. But he's got fast hands. And if Kell Brook is not moving that upper body, his upper body is going to be food for Terence Crawford. And he's going to get hit time and time and time again. A bit like as the fight went on with Mayweather-Hatton. Hatton's head movement stopped as he was getting tired. And Floyd was just hitting him time and time again. And the thing is, Floyd may not be the biggest puncher in the world, but when you get hit that clean and that often, and you lose concentration through tiredness, you can be stopped. So am I saying that Terence Crawford is going to stop Kell Brook? I think there's a possibility of it. If Kell Brook does not acclimatise to the weight 147 pounds again, who knows? But he has looked like he's kept in good shape recently. Maybe that will pay some, interest to him in this fight. And we also have to remember, when is the night going to come? Because they're both in the 30s. It's not like one is 50 or 48 and the other guy's 28, right? When is the night going to come when Terence Crawford just doesn't move as well as he used to anymore? And we've had some warnings, haven't we? Lopez v. Lomachenko. I was wrong about that fight. I thought Lomachenko would win. Now, Lomachenko is more skilled, possibly, than Lopez. But no one's telling me that strength and power of Lopez didn't play a key in that fight. It did. It did. I see Terence Crawford winning against Kell Brook on points the same way Usyk did against Derek Chisora. Again, I thought that Usyk would bust Chisora up and stop him late. The fight was more competitive than I thought. And let's say this, is Derek Chisora, in terms of skill, on the level of... Is Derek Chisora as great in terms of boxing skills and IQ as Usyk is? No. But Chisora's size, strength, will, getting on your chest, leaning on you, making you tired, power, some of that unsettled Usyk, especially early. So, I'm going with Terence Crawford points in a fight that will... The judges are going to give it 9 rounds to 3, something like that, but it's going to be more 8-4, 7-5. Kell Brook is going to leave this fight, in my view, with a bit of credit. And I would not be surprised if Kell Brook caused the upset, because in boxing, always be prepared to be right when you make a prediction. But never be shocked when you're wrong, because this is boxing. You play other sports. You play tennis, you play football. You don't play boxing. Upsets happen in this game. Yes, Usyk still won against Chisora, but that fight surprised me. It really puts it into perspective what the likes of Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao have done going up all them weights. People watched those guys do what they did and thought, I can do that. No. They're unique fighters. It just shows how hard it is. Usyk went up one weight class, struggled like heck against a should we say a top 15 heavyweight. That's not even Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. So there is a chance that size and strength could help Kell Brook in this fight. It can sometimes overcome skill. It can. Pacquiao is unique. They can't all be Pacquiao. Look at what happened to Amir Khan when he stepped up against Canelo. Look at what happened to Kell Brook when he stepped up against Golovkin. These are world-class fighters at the time. But they couldn't go up a couple of weight classes, let alone more. So, who's to say that this is not Terence Crawford's ceiling? That Kell Brook, by the time he rehydrates, he's a lot bigger than the average welterweight. That may play a role if he can lean and shoot to the body against Crawford. But I'm picking Crawford in a tough, competitive fight to come out victorious. But a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, Crawford's overrated after this fight. No, I'm expecting this to be competitive. If Brook lands something and can finish Crawford, again, this is boxing, it wouldn't shock me. But I think Crawford is going to edge this. He's going to look a bit bruised after it as well. It may be Kell Brook's swan song, but he will go out looking like a world-class fighter that just got beat by an elite one. Anyway, what do you guys think? Put it below. This is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. I'm out, brother.